Hey friends, how are you all doing today? Happy Tuesday, one of my favorite days of the week. I've said that lots of times. And our intention for this week. I can change my perception. I like this. I feel like this intention is empowering. I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. Hey everybody that's joining us. It's good to see you all here. Thank you for all the nice little comments that we see popping up. Sending love back to you ladies, and always appreciate you guys being here so very much. This week, Mercury. That's it. You can just say Mercury and Mercury, period, and be done with it. No, there's a lot more to say about it than just that. So this week, yes, the solstice. Happy solstice. Happy. It's almost Capricorn season, so 0 Capricorn is a solstice. If you are in the northern hemisphere, we are going into winter. And if you are in the southern hemisphere, going into summer. But the shifting, we're going to talk about that today too. So it's the changing from light to dark. It's there in opposites, but the theme is still there for both. Hi, Cindy. Look at all these nice little comments that we have. It's good to see you here. Thank you for being here. So let's get to it. Let's talk about the astrology that we have behind this, huh? I can change my perception as my experience grows. So, Mercury. We have talked about how Mercury is retrograde, so we all know that. That is a part of it, that we have Mercury retrograde. But this week, there's a lot going on with Mercury that's retrograding. So, quick little refresher. What planet retrograde is where, from our perspective, the planets don't actually stop and turn backwards, but from our perspective, from being here and it going around, from our perspective, when a planet goes retrograde, it appears that the planet slows down, comes to almost a stop, and then appears to start moving backwards in the sky. So it moves backwards in the zodiacal wheel. And the reason that, even though the planet is not literally stopping and moving backwards, astrology is symbols. It's from our perspective. So since from our perspective, from Earth, if you look in an astrological wheel, you can take you and you can put you right smack dab in the center of that wheel. It appears to us from our perspective that Mercury is stopping and now moving backwards. So we are still in Capricorn, moving backwards in degrees within Capricorn, going to move back into Sagittarius. So Mercury moving backwards tomorrow is going to trine Jupiter. We've already had this trine to Jupiter once. We're going to have it 2 more times. So we have it tomorrow, and then we have it once Mercury turns direct again and moves back into the sign of Capricorn. So Mercury is trining Jupiter tomorrow, trining the great benefic. We've talked before about how trines are of the nature of Jupiter. So trines in general are very expansive. They bring abundance and prosperity. It's where things flow easy. It's where two things kind of come together in a effortless way, okay? So Mercury trining Jupiter, attracting what is needed. So Mercury, our thoughts, our mind, our perception, our communications, words, all of those communication things, but also the resources. We've talked before about how Mercury Hermes is the sorry, excuse me, the god of the messenger of the gods, but also the one that can bring resources and tools and things of the material world in and out of existence. So Mercury is the god that moves back and forth from the underworld to back up to Earth. So Mercury has this shape-shifting thing about it, but also has this tone of being able to bring things forth, deliver things, okay? Deliver things, that's the word I'm looking for. So delivering the things that are needed. So whether that's tools, whether that's information, whether that's resources, it's a favorable aspect in general. So it's bringing blessings and bringing abundance to Mercury that is moving backwards. Remember, when a planet moves backwards, Mercury right now and most often, it's a review, it's a bit of a reviewing period and a revisiting period, because that planet is literally going back over degrees where it had recently been. So we're doing this revisiting and things are starting to come back up. So it could be that type of thing where, like, maybe if you were trying to accomplish something before and you didn't necessarily have the tools and the resources, or something that you needed to help you, to aid you do that, now you might find that that thing is coming through to you, or just kind of pops up for you. So that's tomorrow for Wednesday. Thursday, so we go from this trine to Jupiter for Mercury to a sextile to Saturn. So first, Mercury comes into contact with Jupiter, the great benefic, okay? The optimistic planet of all the planets that we have, the go-getters. Jupiter rules not only Pisces, but also Sagittarius. So think of that Sagittarian energy. So we have this great abundance, this great, like, blessing coming into contact with Mercury, and then we come into a sextile with Saturn. Still a favorable aspect, not quite as effortless, but this time, instead of with the great benefic, we're with the great malefic. So the tendency to think about Saturn is much more of a serious tone, where Jupiter is expansive and abundant and optimistic. Saturn is much more of a realist. Saturn brings you within the boundary and the structure and within the reality of things. So it's like we have this like super buoyant and like extravagant breakthrough of the mind going on, and then we have like a structuring with the mind and those tools and those things that are coming to us. So it's like, first you have all of these, it's almost Christmas time. So think about like Christmas morning, where you have, like, you're a kid and you have all of these presents that come to you, and you open them all up and you have all this like really, really great stuff that's surrounding you. And then your parents tell you that it's time for you now to go find a spot for all of those things. Does that make sense? I don't know. I feel like that's a good analogy that just kind of popped into my head here. So it's like, what can you do with the blessings that Jupiter just gave you? Where can you actually realistically use these things? And then, yeah, so it's like with Saturn coming into the aspect on Thursday, it's like there's some sort of wisdom or like growth knowledge that is like applied to the blessings and the abundances perhaps that is kind of coming to us here, okay? So I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. So as things start to come to you as the things that you need, or different information, or different ideas, maybe even not even the things that you necessarily think that you need, that you're looking for, just things that come to you that the universe knows you need. I had a super mercurial experience this morning where the universe literally gave me a Mercury blessing, and it was a physical gift. It was really, really cool. It was really, really neat. So thinking about these things that are coming into you, and then what can you do with those? How can you change your perception? How can you change the way you're thinking? So maybe before, if you were thinking, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I don't have A, B, and C, well, Jupiter might have just gave you B, or just part of C even. So what can you do with that? How can you change your mind? How can you change your perception? The perception here, word is all about Mercury this week. So Wednesday and then Thursday. Oh, also tomorrow, at the same time that we have, this is why I used the word breakthrough earlier, at the same time that Mercury and Jupiter are coming into this trine here, Venus is coming into opposition with Uranus. We talked about this last week too. So there's a huge changeability. There's a huge like breakthrough aspect that comes through with Uranus, okay? With the opposition, it's kind of opposition to Venus, all the wonderful things, love, beauty, desire, the things that make us happy, often things, material things like money are involved with Venus. Those things often bring things that can bring us happiness in certain ways, right? So this opposition to Uranus at the same time that Mercury and Jupiter are in a trine, it feels like that's what's could possibly bring through this breakthrough of the mind, perhaps. because Jupiter is bestowing these blessings on Mercury, on our mind and the resources that we need and our perception and our tools and the messages that are abundant around us. And then Venus is looking at across the chart at Uranus and saying, where do we need to change something to bring in more Venusian type things? What is not working anymore? Where do we need to change our perception? Where do we need to bring some sort of growth? Where do we need to bring change to bring growth? And then we've already had mention in the comments of the solstice this week. So the sun is going to enter Capricorn, 0 degrees of Capricorn. I'm struggling with using the word winter solstice anymore because it's the winter solstice for me, because I live in the northern hemisphere. But within the last year and a half, I have come into contact with so many more people across the globe. So my perspective is shifting. Welcome to Pluto coming into Aquarius for the next 20 years, right? So it's the Capricorn solstice. It's the winter solstice if you're in the northern hemisphere. It's the summer solstice if you're in the southern hemisphere. First day of winter here in my land where I live, and I'm going to talk about it that way because that is the correlation, that is how it correlates with the zodiac, okay? So so just bear with me on the winter solstice part of it. So sun entering Capricorn, the solstices and the equinoxes, the longest day of the year, the shortest day of the year, and then the 2 days where we have equal amount of light and dark time of the day. These points, these are our anchoring points of our zodiac wheel. This is the anchoring point of our astrological chart. So these 4 points here, not even just mentioning the abundance of tradition and the abundance of rituals and the history that is behind these dates. The structures that we have all across the world where the sun light will line up with a specific structure on one of these days. Besides all of that beautiful, miraculous stuff that tells us those days are important, they're important turning points, it anchors our astrological wheel, okay? So it's our 4 points that starts our Western zodiac wheel. You'll hear about how like the zodiac is shifting, and you know, if you used to be a Taurus, now you're an Aries, and you know, things are changing. Sidereal zodiac is based on more of an astronomical, closer to an astronomically correct view of where the planets are. So if you were to talk to an astrologer that follows the sidereal zodiac, or so say maybe like a Vedic astrologer from India, they would not tell you that the sun is, excuse me, the sun would not be in the same position as it is in right now. It's about I believe it's about 25 degrees difference. And that's the precession of the equinoxes that is changing, okay? As the equinoxes slowly shift, then those two, the gap between those two kind of grow. But the Western zodiac, the tropical zodiac that we use here, the astrological wheel starts with 0 of Aries. So it starts with the spring equinox. So these points are, hopefully I'm explaining this well, these points are really, really important for our zodiac wheel. They're turning points. They're points where we have the start of a shift between the amount of light and the amount of dark we have within a day. Whether it's one of those 4 points, you know what they are. So turning point in the astrological year here. If we think of the zodiacal wheel as the cycle of light, which as somebody that has looked at symbolism for as long as I feel like I can remember, I don't know, somebody that just pays attention to symbolic meaning within normal mundane things. I feel that looking at the the signs by seeing like what the quality of light is and what the light is doing, whether during that season or that month the light is increasing, or whether the light is dark, losing, or whether it's trying to maintain itself within it. That quality of that light translates directly to each sign. So for me, it's a good explanation. It's a good reason why the signs are the way that they are. So if we think of it that way, if we think of it as the cycle of light, then I think of 0 Capricorn as the seeding point, because within the Northern Hemisphere, we have now we have been losing light every single day. The light has been getting darker. Now it's going to shift. Now we're going to start to shift towards, we're going to have the shortest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere, and then the light is going to start to shift, and we're going to stop losing light. We're going to slowly start gaining light. So even though it's the middle of winter, it's the darkest time of the year, you have this, at 0 Capricorn, you have this shift from losing light and light disappearing and light going away to instantly light starting to come back. And you have this within the summer solstice too, because light has, for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, light has been coming back, but now the light is dominant for a moment before it starts to change and starts to shift again, right? So you have the shortest day of the year, you have the longest day of the year. And it's this dramatic change and shift and turning point here. While Mercury is retrograde, while Mercury is shifting and changing direction here. So there's a lot about change here, a lot about changing with the mind going on this week. So from my perspective here, especially we're talking season-wise, and you know, the seasons that are associated with the zodiacal wheel, it's not like this was really hard for me to get. So it's hard for me, even though I feel like I get it now, it's hard for me to explain it in a way that I feel I can portray very well. But it's a symbolic meaning of winter. It's symbolic of spring. It's symbolic of winter. Symbolic of summer. So we're thinking of this time of year as whether it is actually winter for you or not. It's symbolic of winter, okay? So if we're thinking of the zodiacal wheel as this symbolic cycle of light, 0 Capricorn is where the light starts to come back. So it's like the seeding point, seeding moment for the return of light. It's like the conception moment for light, where there's this little initiation of light that just is going to very slowly start growing. And then when we get to 0 Aries, then now we're in the season, the symbolic season of spring, of rebirth, of regeneration, of renew, okay? If you think about spring, you think of the flowers coming back and the animals coming out of hibernation and the little babies being born. So I think of 0 Capricorn as the seeding, or maybe like the conception moment of the light. And then you have our next turning point, which is 0 Aries. And that is like the birthing moment. So it's like the light is gestating through this period, right? It's the initiation of something new. So you have the planning of the things, you have the preparation of the things, you have the getting ready for the birth. Think about all the things that you have to do when you're getting ready for a baby to be born. Symbolically, of course, it'll be whatever it is that you're getting ready for. So we're coming into this season, we're in this season of change here within the wheel. We're in this season where we've been through, there's some sort of darkness that's behind us, and now there's this light that we're going to start to try to go towards as the sun moves into the next set of signs here. So we have this turning point this week in the astrological wheel with the sun entering Capricorn. As the sun enters Capricorn the next day, so Thursday into Friday, I believe the actual moment that the sun moves into Capricorn is really late in the evening Thursday, if I remember correctly. But if you think about, so the sun enters Capricorn, and then the next day, it's going to come into a conjunction with Mercury at 1 degree of Capricorn. So Mercury's moving backwards in that trine to Jupiter right now, and that sextile to Saturn. And then right after that, these aspects for Mercury being retrograde are like boom, boom, boom here. One day right after another. So you have the aspect to Jupiter, you have the aspect to Saturn, and then Mercury conjoins the sun. This is a phase change for Mercury, okay? Every time a planet comes into contact with the sun, okay, Kristen's got us in the comments here with the sun ingress, 10:27 Eastern PM. I'm assuming that's 10:27 PM. Thanks for the time, appreciate that. So we have this process of Mercury changing phases within its cycle here, okay? So it's not starting a new cycle, it's the halfway through the cycle here. So we have the process of Mercury moving from morning star phase into the evening star phase. So this is where the second part of the intention is. I can change my perception. We have lots of ways that can bring change to our perception and to our mercurial body, our mind, right? And then we have this phasal change for Mercury. When I think of Mercury, when it comes into this conjunction with the sun, where it's the retrograde, excuse me, it's retrograding and conjoining with the sun, coming from the morning star phase into the evening star phase. The morning star, let's think of that as like the youthful, young, the beginning cycle of Mercury, and then let's think of the evening star as like maybe the more mature, the more experienced second part of Mercury's phase. So as my experience, I can change my perception as my experience bring growth. So it's like Mercury is coming into contact with the sun after being blessed by Jupiter, after having a look at Saturn, and then it comes right into contact with the sun here just after the solstice, and is switching from that like young, youthful Mercury into the evening star, maybe more mature, let's just say older Mercury, for lack of a better word at the very moment. So it's like Mercury has already had a set of experiences for this cycle, okay? Things have started, things have initiated, Mercury has started to feel things out. Then it comes into contact with the sun, with the infinite intelligence, and it has all of this information, all of this power, all of this regeneration of everything that has already happened within the cycle, and it's going to use that to move forward. So it makes me think about how, as you know, we start to experience things and different things come into our lives, and we have different experiences and different life events, we start to think of things differently. Our perception changes, our mind changes. Think of just the different phases throughout your life and how you've thought about things differently. How maybe your goals and your motivations have changed. The intention this week and what the astrology is, the message that was coming through to me, again, I've said this before, we could have lots of different intentions. It can be read lots of different ways. But the message that's coming here for me is that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your perception because you are constantly changing. 5 minutes from now, there will be some sort of experience that is different from right now, and it might possibly alter things a little bit. It could be something as simple as you know, hearing a sentence from somebody, or hearing somebody's name, or you know, a fan kicks on and change the atmosphere around you. Just things are constantly changing, and I think the sky is telling us that that's okay and that's natural. That's what happens. In fact, if that doesn't happen, that if things aren't changing a little bit, you know, is there really growth? That's just a question to ponder. I'm not saying that you have to be changing your mind in order to be growing and learning and experiencing things like that. But it seems that Mercury, our mind, our thoughts, our perception, our communication, moving backwards, stopping its normal course and saying, hey, whoa, wait a minute. It's not voluntary, of course. It's the cycle. It's what happens. Hey, wait a minute. We're not going to go forward anymore. We need to go back and we need to review these things. We need to reassess, and we need to think about what has happened before we can move forward again. So that moving backwards and like thinking and reassessing here, with the Jupiter and the Saturn and the Sun conjunction, all of this right at the basically one day after another, it feels like Mercury, the changeable one, the one who changes most often next to the moon, is being offered lots of different help within its change, right? I feel like this is a pretty motivated Mercury retrograde. It kind of feels like it's hard to tell people to, a lot of times during Mercury retrograde, you'll see lots of people saying, you know, don't do X, Y, and Z. And I'm not saying that that is wrong, but sometimes you can't always put life on hold, you know? Sometimes you have to do certain things when they come up. And they might come up during retrograde for a reason too, so you can think about that. But the things that you can voluntarily kind of hold off, if you want them to be a little bit more solidified, then sometimes it's okay. It's a good idea to wait until after Mercury retrograde. It feels like there's so much motivation within this one that it's almost kind of hard to do that, because you're going to have somebody be like, yeah, right, I'm not going to do that because I have all of this information that is coming to me, all of these resources and all of these ideas and inspirations and, you know, the structures that are coming about from it. And I'm seeing how I can take these things that I have and how I can arrange them in a certain way and how I can use them. And it really can just, when you have, you know, these things that are coming, that can possibly come to you this week through the energies that are around us, it can be really quite shifting. It can make when our perspective changes, and we start thinking a different way, then it's like we've stepped into a whole new world. And yeah, it feels like a time of change. It feels like there's a lot of change going about here, a lot of change to do with the mind and with the tools and the resources that are around us here. So that's what I want to bring into our meditation tonight. This changeability. I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. It's okay for me to change my mind. It's okay for me to change my beliefs and my opinions. You know, I feel like even though I've had the same spiritual like framework, my beliefs have changed about different things so much. The way that I do things and the way that I utilize different things has changed because my perspective has changed on different things. You know, so like a super quick example, use sage. White sage is something that is really popular use, right, for cleansing, and I use white sage myself, and I have used it for quite some time, but I've started to become a little bit more aware of the ethical sourcing of it. So now that had prompted me to still use my white sage, but in different amounts, different quantities, finding alternatives to possibly use, thinking about growing my own, things like that. So that's just one quick little idea there. Of like, you know, how like the framework and the base of like my spiritual practice is the same, but things have changed. I've had different texts come to me that I've started reading that have given me different ideas. You know, my thoughts about like what I call the other side is a whole lot more fluid than it used to be. I used to think that I had a pretty good idea of what I thought that was, and now it feels like I do, but I don't at the same time. So that's just an example. There's lots of other changes too. I mean, I've become a mom within the last decade. My thoughts, as soon as my oldest daughter was born, like things just started changing. My second daughter, I'm a totally different person than I was I'm still the same person at the framework, but I am a lot different than I was 7 years ago, just before my daughter was born, my oldest daughter. So I'm sure you can all think of lots of different ways that has changed too. And these experiences, they've brought not only changes to my perspective and to my perception, but they've brought growth, okay? The experiences, like the experience of being a mom and having a little one watching me and being the one that they look up to, it has changed, it has forced me through that experience to grow in different ways. It has forced me to, or encouraged me to, you know, just think about the way I approach things and, you know, my diet, the way I take care of myself and the meals that we cook. I've changed because I have this different perspective now. And I think we all have that in different ways. So I can change my perspective as my experiences bring growth. I can change my perspective as my experiences bring growth. Do not put yourself in a box. Do not make yourself feel like, you know, this is the path I've started down, so I absolutely have to fulfill it. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes we do have to do that, but sometimes it's okay to change your mind too. Right? Yeah, sometimes it's okay to change your mind too. So, yeah, I'm just catching up on the comments here. Oh, yeah, so mention of the pictures of Uranus. Have you seen those? Maybe I'll try to find those pictures and put them on the Meditative Astrology Facebook page. I saw those beautiful pictures of Uranus and just absolutely a brilliant light. Those pictures in like the bright, and I know that a lot of the colors are like they modify the pictures and things like that, I believe, right? But that brilliance of the colors that we had coming through shows that like breakthrough of Uranus, that like instant revolution, revolting and changing of things, that like lightning quick. It just was, that's what it reminded me of. The color it reminded me of like pictures of lightning that you see, just that pure bright color, that pure bright light there. I think it's a good topic for this week's meditation too, but you know, yes, I choose the intention, but I try to take my own personal things of like what I have going out of it, and I try to be objective, not subjective about it, and I just try to look at the week and look at what's going on with all the energies in the planets and try to be guided or led towards something, or just kind of stumble upon it somehow. Usually it takes a few days of kind of like working the wording. I'm looking at it all week, all the time, but then like it seems like it's not until like, so we release the intentions Sundays at 6, right? It seems like I can it's difficult for me to have the intention solidified before like Saturday. I don't know if that's just me having to get into the energy. At one point I tried getting ahead of myself a few weeks with the intentions, and I was changing them. I did all this work. I had like 3 weeks of intentions built, and then I changed it as I got closer because I was like, this just doesn't feel right anymore. So it's just a feeling into things. And a comment about where you can reach me. Lots of different ways. So there's a community tab on YouTube. There's a Facebook page. So Meditative Astrology is our tag everywhere. So we have a Facebook page you can message us on. We have an Instagram page. There's a website. You could go to meditativeastrology.com and you can send a message to me on there as well. So there's lots of different ways to reach out, and I'd love to chit chat with anybody that wants to talk. So let's get into our meditation, huh? Let's get into it. Let's contemplate how we can change our mind, how we can grow, and how we can have different things coming into us that allow us to do so here. So one last look at that intention there if you need that. I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. So we have our intentional candle as always. White, because it's universal. White, purity, clarity, amplification. You can, I've said this before, you can make this candle any color you want it to be, from where you're sitting at any point, whether you're watching this live or on a replay. We also have Hermes hanging out here with us tonight because we're talking a whole lot about Mercury going on here, right? And the changes. You know, mercurial changes, sometimes they can happen kind of quickly. Sometimes they can catch you off guard. Sometimes they can be a little bit of a trickster. Sometimes it can be a little bit of, you know, a little bit of a play between light and dark, of like, thinking of Mercury rules Gemini, so kind of like, you know, sometimes it'll be like, oh, here's the thing you need, but are you know, what are you gonna do to get the thing? Like, kind of like teasing a little bit, maybe, you know, that type of thing a little bit, but not always. Okay, so I'm gonna light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I will speak the intention. I encourage you to say it out loud with me, but if you don't feel comfortable doing that, you repeat it in your head to yourself. Okay? I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. So as we start to settle into our meditation, if you aren't already, find a nice comfortable seat. If you need to get up and get out any last little wiggles or fidgets, feel free to do so as well. And then settle into a comfortable spot here. Okay? So, as always, I like to start with an energetic check-in. So, if you are ready to close your eyes, go ahead and do so. Find a comfortable, relaxed position. If you're not quite ready to close your eyes yet, then just attempt to soften your gaze a little bit. Try not to focus your whole vision sight on what is directly in front of you. See if maybe you can just kind of let your gaze just kind of fall onto a general area, you know, maybe just kind of gazing neutrally past your nose until it feels like the right time to close your eyes. And I want you to take a nice, slow, deep breath in. And as you take that breath in, I want you to feel it fill your lungs. Fresh, oxygenating energy coming into your lungs. And then I want you to very slowly exhale and release that breath. One more time, breathing in and out at your own pace. Once you get to the bottom of that exhale, I'd like you to go ahead and check in with your physical body. What is the energy level that you came to this space with? Be honest and gentle with yourself. The events of the day, of the week, of the month, and of the year. Where has the culmination of all of those moments brought you? It's brought you right here. But how are you feeling? Do you feel energized? Do you feel tired? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel any tension in your body? Perhaps we start at the top of our head and slowly scan our body for any signs of stress, discomfort, or holding on to any weights that do not serve us completely well. So let's start at the top of our head. Is there any pressure Any discomfort? Does your head feel heavy? Does it feel light? Does your head feel supported or does it feel strained? What about your eyes? When was the last time you thought about your eyes and how you care for your eyes? Are they tired from a days of work, lights, screens, or perhaps they're well rested from a good night's sleep? It's moving to our ears. Oh, our ears. How often do we think about our ears? Just think about the sounds that your ears take in, the sensing and the awareness that comes from our ears and our hearing. How often are we thankful for our ears and our ability to hear? So many of us take that for granted constantly. And then there's those that do not have the sense of hearing. So focus on your ears. Focus on what they bring to you. Not only hearing, but your balance and your equilibrium. Your inner ear has more functions than just hearing. Slowly moving down to your chin, your jaw. Are you holding any tension or any stress in your jaw? Unclench your jaw and let it rest. If your mouth falls open, that's okay. You're resting your chin, you're resting your jaw, giving it a break from all of the work that it's had to do for you. Think about all of the nourishing food that you eat through the day, the words that you speak, the tensions you may hold, the facial expressions, the smiles, the frowns, the laughter, the scowls. Wouldn't be possible without your chin, without your jaw area. And then moving the awareness down to your neck. Many of us carry tension and stress within our neck. Your neck supports your head, contains part of your spinal cord going up to your skull, and reaching up into your brain. Contains your throat chakra. Your ability to communicate and to share. Vocal cords in here. Sounds a little mercurial, does it not? Give some love to your neck right now. Perhaps with your eyes closed, you rotate your head to small circles. Stretching and extending your neck. And if you're doing that and it feels well, perhaps you stop and move the other way. You stop and change course, just as Mercury has. Changing the way we think about some of these parts of our body here together. Changing your perception. Changing the way we think about these small body parts that we take for granted. Moving down to your shoulders. Oh, your two shoulders, the left shoulder and the right shoulder. Assess each one individually, whichever feels right to do first. What is the condition of your shoulders right now? Are they standing tall and proud and confident, or are they hunched and a little bit sluggish? Positioning of your shoulders affects your posture of your whole body. These shoulders support your head and your neck. These shoulders contain muscles that help you move throughout the day. Perhaps these shoulders have had moments of strength where they've been a place for someone else to rest for just a moment. A shoulder to lean on, per se. These shoulders extend into your arms. Left shoulder down extends down into your left arm. So as you slowly acknowledge the condition of your left arm, starting at the top, focusing on your upper arm and your bicep area. Is your arm tired? Is it sore? Or is it flexible and ready to move? Extending down to your elbow, your forearm, your wrist. Oh, that left wrist. How's the wrist doing today? Extending into your fingers, your left hand. Your hands help you so much through the day. Think about all the things you use your hands for. All the tasks that would be so difficult if you didn't have your hands. Energetically, our left side helps us receive. Moving to our focus back to the right shoulder. Slowly moving down your arm. Focusing first on your upper arm. And then your elbow. Is that elbow sore? Is it flexible or is it stiff? Any discomfort there? Your right wrist down to your right fingers. And now I want you to focus on whichever hand is your dominant hand. So whether you're left-handed or right-handed. Focus on that hand that helps you and aids you through every activity of the day. These hands can pick up the tools and the resources that come to you. These hands can feel the physical, material world around us. And they allow us to utilize the resources around us. After you've focused on your shoulders and your arms and your fingers, how about your chest? Do you feel any stress or tension in your chest? Moving down to your abdomen, your navel area. How is the condition of your abdominal area? This is the visceral area of the body that contains so many internal organs. Think about all of the body systems, or even just the ones that you're aware of. Think of those organs and their functions within you. Think about your stomach that holds the food and nutrition that you eat, starts to break it down, moving it into your intestines for absorption. This is the area where nutrition comes into our body. Our liver, kidneys, pancreas, gallbladder if you have one. All of these organs are vital to our proper function of our body. When was the last time you shifted your perspective to focusing on what this area of your body does for you every moment of every day? Moving down to your hips. First the left hip, then the right hip, and then the whole pelvis region as a whole. Bringing our focus to our spine now that we're in our abdomen and our torso. We've moved down from our head to our neck, to our shoulders. Now all the way down to your lower back. How's the condition of your spine? What's your posture like? Is there soreness or tenderness? Is there stiffness? We tend to carry so much stress in our spine. And it ends way down by your pelvic area. Moving our focus to our legs, your thighs. When was the last time you paid some positive attention to your thighs? Your thighs carry strong leg muscles that help you lift, help you walk, help you move. Your knees. Thank you, my knees. Thank you for bridging my upper legs and my lower legs. Thank you for being a joint that brings flexibility and mobility and motion to my body. And then down your lower legs, your calves. Our calves hold tension that we don't even realize is there from standing or walking, exercising, or even just the activities of daily living. And our ankles. How about your ankles? When was the last time you paid attention to your ankles in a positive way? Perhaps move your feet and your ankles around a little bit to feel into the sensation of the condition of your ankles. Moving your attention down into your foot, all of the bones from your heel all the way up to your toes. These feet carry you every day. These feet connect us to Mother Earth. These feet ground us, stabilize us, not only in a physical way, but also in a spiritual, energetic way as well. This body of yours, this body has changed and experienced so much, and it has grown so much over your lifetime. It's important to pay attention to our body, be mindful and caring when it comes to our body. If we don't care for our body, then it would be awfully difficult to utilize the tools and the resources that come to us. It would be difficult to put our ideas into action. It would be difficult to obtain our motivations and that which motivates us and moves us. And just as this body changes and grows, so does our mental body, our mind, our thoughts, our perception. The Hermes within you, the mercurial god that is a part of your being, I can change my perception as my experiences bring growth. As we move about our life, as we move within this vessel that contains our eternal body, that contains our soul and our heart. This vehicle, this body is a vehicle and a vessel. Modes of transportation and transmission of energy, of the physical material world, of our thoughts and our emotions, and all the activities that we must carry out. As you go through experiences, different phases of life, you change your mind and you change your thoughts. You change your perspective and your point of view. In the process, don't forget about this physical vessel that from the mundane material world that we are so very much a part of. Do not forget your body. Do not forget to take care of your vehicle and your vessel. It's the only one you have for this lifetime until your soul moves on. Thinking about the body parts that we focused on, each little individual piece. I want you to consider how your perception and your awareness has changed of your body over the last several moments. Your awareness, your perception, that change, that little shift of awareness, that, my dear, is growth through your experiences. And you can extend that way beyond this physical body, way beyond this meditation, way beyond this moment or hour or day. And you can move forward in your experiences and grow and change. Oh, well, thank you, all of you. I want to say that that's not exactly how I expected our meditation to go tonight, but I don't really come in with expectations anymore. I don't know, sometimes I have a clear meditation visualization that comes to me somehow, or ideas that I think of, but most of the time, the first part is a little more thought out, and then the meditation, I don't know, when I felt like I was really trying to nail it down, it seemed like I was trying too hard and I just wasn't letting it come naturally. So it's more like, I don't know, I just kind of feel into it. We just go where we go. And I thought it would be a really quick check-in, but it was a full body scan, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it worked well for you, and I hope you enjoyed the meditation. I hope it helped you change your perspective on your body. Hope it made you think about these small little parts of your body and all of the functions that occurs within them. The changes with Mercury this week, there's a review within the retrograde, but it's like feels like it could be like coming back to somewhere where you already were, but this time you have so much more. You have all of your experiences that you have went through from the first time you were here. So now coming back around here, you have Jupiter looking at you, looking at Mercury, saying, look at all the work you've done. We had this trine together before. We had this conversation before, but now here is the blessing, okay? Here it is for you. Saturn, now that blessing that you have, what Jupiter just gave you, very well could be something physical. Jupiter's in the sign of Taurus, so it doesn't have to be physical, but it very well could be a physical object that comes to you. Now that you have this thing, now that you have this idea or whatever Jupiter has brought into you, maybe it's a person that can help you, an ally or a friend or an advocate or something like that even. What can you do with that now? How are you going to constructively utilize that? And then the empowerment. The sun changes into the sign of Capricorn. We have this turning point of the astrological year, and then comes right into contact with Mercury. Empowerment, enlightenment, contact with the infinite intelligence, contact with God in certain ways. So change your mind, it's okay. Change your perspective. As long as, I'm not going to start putting limits on it, because I was going to say as long as it's, productive and all that, but that's up to you to figure out. So not up to me. Our own paths are our own paths for a reason, right? Thank you all of you for coming here and participating. Thank you for joining me. This would not be possible without every single one of you, because I wouldn't be coming back here a year and a half later if I was doing this by myself and, nobody wanted to participate, I suppose. Although maybe I would, because I really thoroughly enjoy this so very much. So next week, we'll be here on Tuesday. It's December 26th. It's the day after Christmas. So remember that if you're busy and you still want to participate, replays, they're available. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on YouTube. So a new intention will come out Sunday. So take a look at that. I usually try to release it in the evening. And the evening time is just because it's an algorithm monster thing. That's what it is. It really is. Okay, I've noticed that I'm kind of really just really kind of dragging on time here. So I'm sorry that I'm going a little bit longer here today. The topic means something different now. That's so magical. Oh, I'm so glad that you've enjoyed it. I really am. It's just, it's that shifting of perspective. That's what we're talking about here. And there's more changes to come. Pluto's moving into Aquarius. It's going to be moving back and forth, but that is a change that we have been on the cusp of for about a year now. And we're still on that change movement, and it's still there. Jupiter is retrograde, but going to be stationing to move direct right at the beginning of the year. So there's always changes, right? That's just life. There's always changes around. Yeah, you can email me. So my email it's the old name, so it's the Meditative Astrologer, not Meditative Astrology. I know that sounds like a minute change, but my email is the Meditative Astrologer at gmail.com. That's my email. So reach out to me anytime, please do. And yeah, look for that intention on Sunday. You can find it on the website. You can find it on the community tab of the YouTube page, Facebook, and Instagram. I think pretty soon I'm going to be trying to stream these live streams onto Instagram as well. So I'm going to try to start checking that out, and that'll just be another option for you all to pay attention. So, okay, I will move on out of here before I take up any more of your time. So thank you for sticking with me to the end. Reach out at any time, and yeah, I will see you all next week. Merry Christmas to those of you that celebrate. Happy holidays to whatever your celebration is this time of year. And if you don't have a celebration, that is okay too. That's okay. You know, maybe your celebration is that you're doing something a little bit differently. Or, you know, this can be a really hard time of year for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. So if it's not that if you don't want to celebrate, if your perspective has changed through your own experiences and your own growth, that's okay. It really is. So, good night, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I will see you next Tuesday, okay? Mwah. Oh, real quick, I see the comment about my mom. Thank you, thank you. Okay, every week you have been telling me that you're praying for my mom, and I appreciate that. We've started getting her some interventions. So this Mercury retrograde Mercury is moving back and forth across her moon. That's part of the body thing going on here. But she's had some tools and she's had some resources come to her that are going to help her. She's had some different pain management things that are going to make it tolerable to get to surgery dates. So thank you, Mercury, for all of your blessings and all of your resources. Okay, good night, everybody. Mwah. Have a good one.